Dear friends and colleagues, today in the European Union and the rest of the planet, access to raw materials has become an absolute priority. Raw materials are critical for the green transition, the digital transition, and of course for defense and space applications. In addition, demand for clean energy technologies is projected to multiply 2 to 3 times by 2030 and 4 to 6 times by 2040. This will lead to an increase in total demand for selected critical minerals of up to more than 300%. Unfortunately, the European Commission has shown an unthinkable and unacceptable delay over the last 15 years, during which China has managed to buy or lease significant reserves of critical minerals in Africa and other regions of the world. Nevertheless, the Commission has recently been trying to address these dilemmas either by developing updated lists of critical minerals, 34 in 2023, or by developing strategic guidelines on sustainable and responsible mining, or by initiatives and action plans such as the Innovation Partnership and the European Raw Materials Alliance. Europe currently consumes 25% of the world's annual global production of extractive products, while it produces only 2 to 3%. In total global mining projects, the EU's share is only 6%. By contrast, China's dominance at all levels, mining, processing, finished products, is staggering, and in several critical materials reaches up to 90% of global activity. The Net Zero Industry Act and the Critical Raw Materials Act, enacted in 2024, aim to help strengthen supply chain resilience by diversifying supplies and building a strong domestic manufacturing base for clean technologies. Currently, the situation in Europe does not look promising. Although Europe has several exploitable lithium deposits, currently has no active lithium mine, no lithium processing plant, and no commercial-scale lithium battery recycling plant. This is mainly because social participation and acceptance is not secured. The well-known "not in my backyard" syndrome is well underway across the old continent. Unfortunately, the regulations on critical raw materials do not address the issue of social licensing in substance, as it requires significant interventions, primarily concerning civil society's perception of the extractive sector. The good news for the mining sector is that recently a very vivid discussion has started in Europe, mainly to address competitive, security and resilience challenges of the European Union. Mario Draghi's report on competitiveness, Enrico Letta's report on strengthening the single market, and Ministro's report on strengthening Europe's civilian and military preparedness and readiness deal all these three extensively with raw materials issues. Draghi proposed for Europe a coordinated strategy covering the entire value chain, from raw materials to finished products. Letta proposes that the European Union should offer African countries a decarbonization partnership based on value creation for local communities, focusing on green energy, decarbonization, and the development of green manufacturing. Ministros, all these calls for the European Union to develop a comprehensive EU stockpiling strategy to incentivize coordinated public and private reserves of critical inputs and ensure their availability under all circumstances, including, of course, raw materials. In her political guidelines, Commission President von der Leyen presented a new clean industrial deal that will include at its core Europe's access to cheap, sustainable and secure energy supplies and raw materials. Recently, during the hearings of the new commissioners in the European Parliament, there were references to CRMs showing that the new Commission has received the right message, or at least a part of the right message. Commissioner designate for Trade and Economic Security Šefčovič referred to the EU's bargaining power to have better access to CRMs and promised to push to make sure that the raw material aspect is reflected in every trade agreement. He will also work on the aggregated demand mechanism under the Critical Raw Materials Act. Commissioner designate for the environment, water resilience and the competitive circular economy, Jessica Roswell, stressed the need to create a real single market for critical raw materials. She will look at the incentives as well as at skills and infrastructure of collecting the secondary materials. But even commissioners for sector policies now consider raw materials. Commissioner designate for transport, Gigi Kostas, mentioned that the EU industrial action, all this action plan for the automotive sector will address the needs throughout the entire value chain, including the supply of critical raw materials. Unfortunately, in Greece, during the last 10 years, there has been almost zero progress in the exploitation of the rich mineral raw materials, despite the work we had done during the period 2009 till 2014. During the 5 years period of 2009-2014, the new mining and quarrying regulation was published in 2011 after 27 long years. Environmental licensing for mining was simplified. For the first time, we included in the national legislation that at least 20% of the fees and leases collected from mining sites will be attributed to local municipalities. The electronic register for hundreds of quarries in the country was created. The registry of all public mines was set up, which is for the first time since the establishment of the Greek state recorded and evaluated the public mining sites and the public industrial minerals lands. In February 2012, the National Mining Policy was announced, which is the roadmap for the sustainable development of the country's mineral resources. And finally, the Latomet digital special database was modernized, creating a comprehensive, modern, up-to-date electronic register for all quarries in all 13 regions of the country. Today, we know the existence of several critical or strategically important minerals in our country, such as copper, bauxite, which also contains the strategic metals gallium and scandium, aluminium, nickel, cobalt, antimony, graphite, manganese, ores and rare earth elements, mainly within other deposits. Critical mineral supply chains cannot be truly secure, reliable, transparent, inclusive and resilient unless they are at the same time sustainable and accountable. In this respect, the development of targeted national mining exploration programs must be a key development priority for Greece. It's our highest patriotic duty. With these thoughts, I wish you a successful conference which will provide concrete ideas to help policymakers advance the much needed relevant reforms and initiatives in the European Union and in our country, Greece.